The ballroom shimmered with golden chandeliers that bathed the guests in soft light, yet the air was thick with whispers and judgment. Every seat was filled with dignitaries, business tycoons, and socialites dressed in their finest, all curious about the scandalous marriage that was about to take place. At the center stood Adrian Blackwood, the feared young CEO whose ruthless rise to the top had made him both admired and hated. He stood tall in his tailored suit, expression cold, hands clenched at his side as though this ceremony was nothing but a formality he was forced into. His sharp jawline and storm-gray eyes betrayed irritation, and anyone who dared look at him too long lowered their gaze, knowing his reputation for crushing anyone who crossed him. The only reason he was here, in front of the altar decorated with cascading white roses, was because of a business deal gone wrong, and because Elena, the bride he had never truly seen, was the only daughter of the family that had begged him to save them from ruin. The whispers in the audience grew louder when the music began to play, signaling the bride's entrance. Heads turned, and as the double doors opened, Elena appeared, draped in a gown of white lace that shimmered like frost under the chandeliers. But what stunned the guests was the veil, thick, embroidered, and pulled low, covering her face entirely. Gasps rippled through the crowd. "She must be hiding something," one woman murmured to her friend. "An ugly face, scars, perhaps something so terrible she dare not reveal it." Another whispered, "Adrian has been tricked. They fooled him into marrying her without showing her face first." Adrian heard the whispers too, and though he kept his expression blank, a storm brewed inside him. His pride stung at the thought of being deceived. He believed her family had trapped him, that they had tied him into a marriage with a woman so undesirable she had to be hidden from the world. Rage simmered in his veins, though he stood rigid, his jaw clenched so tight it ached. He vowed silently that if she had indeed tricked him, he would make her regret ever crossing his path. The bride walked forward slowly, each step graceful, her gown trailing behind like waves of silk. Her hands trembled slightly, but she held her head high beneath the heavy veil. To the crowd, she was a mystery, a figure both pitied and ridiculed. To Adrian, she was a stranger who had dared to walk into his empire disguised, daring to bind him with vows. When she reached the altar, Adrian's hand brushed against hers, and he was startled by how delicate yet firm her fingers felt. She did not flinch under his icy touch, though her pulse raced so fast he could feel it. Her voice, when she spoke the vows, carried softly through the silence, trembling, yet clear, and Adrian froze for a moment. It was not the voice of someone weak, nor the voice of someone trying to deceive. It was gentle, melodic, and strangely sincere. For a fleeting second, doubt pricked at his anger, but he quickly dismissed it, hardening his heart again. The ceremony dragged on, each word a chain locking them together. When the officiant finally declared them husband and wife, all eyes turned to Adrian, waiting for him to lift the veil. The air grew tense, as though the entire ballroom was holding its breath. Adrian reached forward, his fingers cold and steady, his mind already preparing to face whatever horror was hidden beneath. He tugged at the veil, and in one swift motion, he lifted it. The hall fell into stunned silence. Adrian's breath caught in his throat. Before him stood not an ugly bride, not a scarred woman, but a vision of breathtaking beauty. Her eyes were the color of sapphire, framed by long lashes, glowing with a quiet strength that seemed to pierce through his soul. Her features were delicate yet striking, her lips soft, her skin flawless under the chandelier light. The veil slipped away completely, and gasps echoed throughout the room as guests struggled to process what they were seeing. Whispers turned to awe. "She's beautiful," someone whispered. "She's radiant." Adrian's heart pounded in confusion. This was not what he expected. He had prepared himself for anger, for disappointment, for humiliation, but not for this. For the first time in years, the icy armor around his heart cracked. His pride, his arrogance, his cold judgment, all of it faltered in that instant as he stared at her. Elena's eyes met his, and for the first time, she spoke words not meant for the crowd, but for him alone. Her lips parted, and in a voice so quiet only he could hear, she whispered, "Now you know why I hid, Adrian. Beauty can be a curse, not a blessing. Will you still dare to judge me?" Her words struck him like a blade, shattering his assumptions and leaving him speechless. The hall erupted in applause, but Adrian barely heard it, his world spinning as he struggled to understand the enigma standing before him. And in that moment, with her eyes locked onto his, he knew that everything, his anger, his plans for revenge, his entire perception of her, was about to change forever.